Meghan Markle did return privately to Britain, but that later arrival does not automatically prove an earlier claim that she had already been hiding at Soho farmhouse. The original video said Meghan was already in the United Kingdom, that Prince Harry and the palace had been blindsided, and that a private WhatsApp group was feeding royal reporters her version of events. Yet the video displayed no location photograph, travel record, message, named witness, or document. The public wording only said Meghan would not accompany Harry to London and left open a private visit elsewhere. So did the commentator expose a genuine secret itinerary? Or did a later event make an unsupported prediction look like a verified leak? That distinction matters because three separate claims were pushed together as though they were one. Meghan might come to Britain. Meghan was already in Britain. Meghan was already at Soho farmhouse. Those are not interchangeable statements. The later visit confirmed that the first possibility had become reality. It did not automatically confirm the second, and it did not prove the third. Royal Receipts has to separate those claims before examining the marriage accusations, the security theories, and the supposed media operation attached to them. A broad prediction can turn out to be right, while the specific source, timing, location, and motive remain unverified. The central receipt was not a flight manifest or a photograph. It was a narrow public statement saying Meghan and the children would not accompany Harry to London. That wording immediately attracted attention because it ruled out one place without ruling out the entire country. Some reporters suggested she might still travel to Birmingham, Althorpe, or another private location. The wording preserved an option, but preserving an option is not the same as confirming that the journey had already happened. It told the public what was not planned for London. It did not tell the public where Meghan was at that moment, when she would travel, or whether a final decision had been made. The competitor then made a much more specific claim. Meghan, viewers were told, had already been in the United Kingdom for 2 days and was staying at Soho farmhouse in the Cotswolds. That claim included both a location and a timestamp. Those details should have required a stronger receipt than a repeated assurance that someone had provided information. A later arrival cannot retroactively supply a timestamp that was never demonstrated. Even if Meghan eventually entered Britain, the original allegation still needed evidence showing that she was already there when the video was recorded. Without that, the claim remains a prediction with a precise but unsupported backstory. This is the first major reversal. The broad outcome and the detailed leak are not the same thing. A person can predict rain and later point to wet streets, but that does not prove every earlier statement about the hour, the location, or the source of the forecast. Meghan's later private visit made the earlier story look stronger. It did not authenticate the route by which the commentator claimed to know. The question is not whether Meghan came. She did. The question is whether the evidence ever proved that she was already at Soho farmhouse, already separated from Harry, and already directing a network of reporters before the public itinerary changed. The source problem becomes even clearer when the alleged WhatsApp group is examined. The video named several journalists and claimed they were receiving Meghan's wording through a private group chat. But no messages were shown. No participant confirmed the group. No timestamps were produced. No screenshot was displayed with the source chain that viewers could inspect. If the WhatsApp group was the mechanism behind the media confusion, then the messages were the central receipt. Without them, the audience was being asked to accept a conclusion about a document it never saw. Several reporters repeating similar possibilities may reflect one shared statement, overlapping sources, or simple interpretation of the same public wording. The next clue was Althorpe. The estate's public calendar showed that it would be closed on the 10th and 11th of July. That was a real and verifiable detail, and it naturally created curiosity because Althorpe is connected to Diana's family and has symbolic meaning for Harry. But the public notice did not identify Meghan, Harry, the children, a filming project, or a private Sussex booking. The closure was real. The reason attached to it in the video was not contained in the notice. This is an important evidence boundary. A true public clue can support a question without supporting the complete story later built around it. Harry's public schedule added another layer. He appeared alone at the Invictus Countdown event in Birmingham. That public appearance confirmed who was on the stage and who was not. It did not confirm where Meghan was during every private hour surrounding the event. It also did not reveal the private condition of the marriage. Couples can travel separately for security, childcare, work, health, or logistical reasons. Separate movements can justify questions. They cannot establish hatred, divorce, or a secret plan. The original video repeatedly treated public absence as proof of private collapse, but no direct statement, filing, or authenticated communication supported that conclusion. Later reporting described Meghan and the children as joining Harry after he had already arrived in Britain. That detail matters because it directly challenges the claim that she had been secretly waiting in the country for days. It does not prove the precise moment of arrival, and private travel rarely leaves a complete public trail. But it introduces a counter timeline that the original video did not have. If Harry arrived first and Meghan joined later, then the earlier statement about her already being in Britain needs independent support. The later reunion cannot be used to erase that missing evidence. It confirms the trip. It does not confirm the original timing. The private meeting at Highgrove became the strongest later receipt. Meghan, Harry, Archie, and Lilibet joined King Charles and Queen Camilla away from a public event. There was no staged family photograph, no public arrival ceremony, and no detailed account of the conversation. The reunion confirmed that part of the itinerary had been kept private. It also demonstrated why the public schedule was always likely to be incomplete. But Highgrove proved privacy, not conspiracy. It did not prove that the palace had been blindsided. It did not prove Meghan had hidden at Soho farmhouse. It did not prove the commentator's source was genuine. This is where prediction laundering becomes visible. Once Meghan appeared in Britain, every earlier detail began to look more credible. The broad prediction had landed, so the exact location, the arrival date, the WhatsApp group, the marital crisis, and the palace reaction were pulled along with it. But evidence does not work by association. Each claim needs its own support. The later event confirmed that Meghan entered Britain privately. It did not transform an unnamed source into a verified witness. It did not create messages that were never displayed. It did not reveal what Harry knew or when the palace learned of the final plan. The palace blindside claim was especially weak because it depended on private knowledge of internal communications. To prove that Harry or palace officials were surprised, the video would have needed a message, an on-record source, a schedule change, or a direct statement. Instead, chaos and public reporting was treated as evidence of chaos inside the family. Those are not necessarily the same. Public plans may remain fluid because security arrangements, private meetings, children's travel, and media exposure are still being negotiated. Reporters can receive different versions at different times without anyone being deliberately deceived. A changing itinerary can reflect uncertainty rather than sabotage. Security was a real factor, but the original video used it to open a second conspiracy. It claimed the Home Secretary had personally offered Harry full convoy protection and suggested Birmingham resources were being diverted for his benefit. The public record did not establish that. The Home Secretary has institutional responsibility in the area of protective security, but that does not prove a personal promise, a guaranteed outcome, or a special local arrangement. Security decisions involve formal structures, assessments, and agencies. Without an official decision letter or named source, the claim should remain attributed and limited. It cannot be used as proof that the whole visit was politically engineered. The competitor did not stop at travel. It used separate movements to declare the marriage broken. Old photographs, public body language, and the absence of recent joint appearances were presented as evidence that Harry disliked Meghan and wanted to escape. Those claims went far beyond the receipt. Body language cannot establish the state of a marriage. A public schedule cannot reveal every private conversation. A couple appearing separately cannot prove that one spouse has blindsided the other. The marriage may contain tensions, as many public marriages do, but a factual video needs direct evidence before treating tension as collapse. Suspicion is not a marital record. The custody theory moved even further beyond the evidence. The children were described as Meghan's final card, and the palace was accused of trying to bring them onto British soil so Harry could prevent them from leaving. No custody filing, immigration proceeding, family court order, or legal statement was shown. A comparison with an unrelated celebrity case does not create evidence in the Sussex family. Different countries, facts, orders, and legal histories matter. Without a current case, the theory turns children into instruments inside an adult feud. Royal receipts should not repeat that accusation, except to explain why the evidentiary threshold was never met. This is also where the female audience wound becomes natural rather than decorative. Meghan was placed in a story where every possible choice became incriminating. If she did not come with Harry, the marriage was failing. If she came privately, she was plotting. If the itinerary remained confidential, she was deceptive. If reporters knew something, she was controlling them. If she brought the children, she was using them. If she did not bring them, she was withholding them. The narrative offered no neutral choice. Once a woman is cast as the manipulator, ordinary uncertainty begins to look like proof of manipulation. That does not mean Meghan's public strategy is beyond criticism. The Sussexes have carefully managed announcements, images, access, and media timing. Their statements can be narrow. Their private decisions can create public confusion. It is legitimate to ask why one place was ruled out while another remained possible. It is legitimate to question whether selected reporters received advance guidance. It is legitimate to examine whether privacy was also being used as reputation management. But those questions must remain tied to evidence. They cannot become permission to invent the private condition of a marriage or the emotional state of every person involved. Harry's agency must also remain visible. The competitor presented him as someone whose decisions were continuously controlled by his wife. Yet Harry has his own legal campaign, security priorities, family relationships, public commitments, and reasons for managing a return to Britain carefully. He can agree with Meghan, disagree with her, change plans, or negotiate privately. Removing his agency makes every unexplained decision Meghan's fault. That may create a cleaner villain, but it produces a weaker analysis. A marriage is not accurately understood by treating one adult as all-powerful and the other as a passive victim whenever the evidence is incomplete. The children deserve the same discipline. Archie and Lilibet were part of the travel stakes because security, privacy, and family access affected whether they would come. That does not make them leverage. Their presence at Highgrove showed that a family meeting had finally taken place. It did not show a custody trap, a visa strategy, or a palace plan to retain them. Children cannot be turned into proof simply because the adults around them are in conflict. The public may debate whether Harry and Meghan have handled royal family access well, but the debate must not depend on claims about the children that no legal record supports. The strongest case in favor of the original video is narrower and should be treated seriously. The commentator noticed that not coming to London was not the same as not coming to Britain. That observation was correct. Meghan later appeared privately in England. The public schedule was incomplete. A private family meeting had been arranged away from the main public event. Those facts show that careful wording mattered. They also show that reporters who kept the possibility of a private visit open were not necessarily inventing it. The video identified a real gap between the public wording and the complete private itinerary. But the strongest counter case is more decisive. The wording left an option open. It did not reveal Meghan's present location. The exact Soho farmhouse claim was unsupported. The WhatsApp messages were never shown. Reporting later described Meghan and the children as joining Harry after his arrival. Highgrove confirmed a private visit, but not the earlier timestamp. Althorp's closure confirmed only that the estate was closed. No official source confirmed a palace blindside, a custody plan, or a personal security promise. The broad possibility turned out to be true. The detailed story remained mostly unverified. The story control mechanism is therefore not simply that Meghan manipulated the media. It is that several parties controlled different pieces of the record. The Sussex spokesperson controlled the wording of the public statement. Harry's team controlled the announced public appearances. The palace controlled disclosure of the family meeting. Security authorities controlled operational details. Reporters controlled how they framed the uncertainty. Commentators controlled how they filled the gaps. No single actor held the complete public story. That fragmented control created the conditions in which a precise anonymous claim could appear more authoritative than the receipts supporting it. The final headline versus evidence comparison is clear. The headline promised a leaked secret location and a palace blindside. The transcript offered an unnamed source, a narrow public statement, an estate closure, and a series of personal conclusions. The later timeline confirmed that Meghan eventually came to Britain privately. It did not confirm that Soho farmhouse was the location, that she had already been there for 2 days, that reporters were in her group chat, or that Harry and palace officials were surprised. The headline converted a possibility into a verified leak, and then converted the alleged leak into a verdict about marriage, motherhood, and character. What is proven is limited but meaningful. Meghan did not join Harry's public London or Birmingham appearances. She later entered Britain privately with the children and participated in the family meeting at Highgrove. Harry appeared publicly before the private family portion became visible. The public itinerary did not reveal every movement. Althorp's official calendar showed a closure on relevant dates. These are real details. They explain why the earlier speculation attracted attention. They also established that the Sussex visit contained both public and private parts. What is credibly reported is that the original wording left open a visit elsewhere in Britain, and that Meghan and the children joined Harry after he had already arrived. Security concerns were part of the uncertainty around the trip. The family meeting was intended to remain private. These reports support a fluid itinerary and a later family arrival more strongly than they support the idea that Meghan had been secretly waiting at Soho farmhouse before the video was published. What is disputed is whether any commentator had genuine advanced knowledge of Meghan's exact location. It is also disputed whether selected journalists received direct Sussex briefings or simply interpreted the same statement and public clues. The original video's confidence does not resolve those questions. Confidence is a presentation style, not a chain of custody. Without the message, witness, photograph, or travel record, the audience cannot evaluate how the information was obtained. What remains unknown is Meghan's exact arrival time, whether she ever visited Soho farmhouse during the trip, whether she went to Althorp, who knew the final plan at each stage, and whether any private media group discussed the itinerary. It also remains unknown how much of the public uncertainty came from security, how much came from deliberate media management, and how much came from plans changing behind closed doors. These are legitimate questions. The current record does not answer them. What the headline exaggerated was the leap from a narrow phrase to a complete hidden operation. It treated not London as proof of already in Britain, treated a later arrival as proof of an earlier time stamp, treated a closed estate as proof of a private booking, and treated repeated reporting as proof of a WhatsApp network. It then used those unverified steps to accuse a wife of betraying her husband, a mother of using her children, and the palace of losing control. The receipts do not support that full verdict. The deeper reputation cost is not that Meghan faced questions. Public figures should expect scrutiny when their statements are carefully worded and their plans affect royal security and family relationships. The cost came from the speed with which uncertainty became character evidence. A private itinerary was used to diagnose a marriage. The absence of public detail was used to infer manipulation. The children were placed inside a custody narrative before any legal dispute existed. Harry's agency disappeared so that every decision could be reassigned to Meghan. The claim became larger than the receipt. For many women watching, the pattern is familiar. A woman can be criticized for staying away, then criticized for arriving privately. A husband's choices are recast as evidence of her control, while a mother's decisions become proof of ambition. The question is not whether Meghan deserves no criticism. It is whether the evidence earned the total verdict built around her. The cleanest conclusion is therefore more precise than either extreme. The commentator may have identified a real possibility before it became public. The wording did leave room for a private UK visit. Meghan later did come. But the exact secret location claim was never authenticated, and the wider accusations were not established by the later event. A partially correct prediction is not the same as a verified leak. It can show that the public story was incomplete without proving who supplied the missing information. Highgrove is the final reversal because it confirms both privacy and limitation. The meeting happened away from the public schedule, showing that private movements can be kept out of view. At the same time, the meeting does not tell us what happened before it, where Meghan stayed, or how the plan was communicated. It proves that the public itinerary was incomplete. It does not prove the conspiracy attached to that incompleteness. That is the difference between a receipt and a story built around a receipt. So the final evidence question is simple. Did the original video reveal Meghan's exact secret location, or did it recognize that the words "not coming to London" left another possibility open? The later return confirmed the possibility. It did not authenticate the timestamp, the Soho farmhouse claim, the alleged WhatsApp group, the palace blindside, the marital collapse, or the custody theory. The question may be legitimate, but the evidence still has to earn the conclusion. Meghan's private UK return did not prove that every earlier anonymous detail was true. It proved that public royal itineraries can remain incomplete until private events are over. That is enough to justify a careful investigation. It is not enough to turn every gap into deception or every later event into retroactive proof. The real receipt was not a leaked location. So did the video reveal a genuine leak? Or did a later private visit make an unverified prediction appear fully proven to viewers?